Hello and welcome back to the podcast. I'm joined today by John Barrett, a man who has years of experience in farming, in management, and today works for Anglia Farmers, advising farmers. So John, first of all, if you could introduce yourself and how you got here today.
That's as you say, a long history. So thank you. Yeah, I'm John Barrett. I'm now the Chief Agricultural Officer over at Anglia Farmers, based over in Norfolk. And yeah, my history is back with Century. So hence my relationship with yourselves, buying and selling machinery to you guys, but also in farm management. So 28 years, the last 7 years of which I was a farms director. And involved in farms across the country, all different types of farming, extensive cereals, sugar beet, potatoes, had a seed potato business, not so much on the livestock front, but pretty extensive farming background. Started off sweeping the floors, which I thoroughly enjoyed, to then as a director helping and supporting our managers at the time with running their businesses. And then about a year ago, I started over at AF in Norwich, and we're a buying group. We're a membership organisation, a co-op, so we've got about 3,000 members, and so we buy inputs on their behalf, fundamentally, and anything that the farm needs. So from those core crop inputs and livestock inputs to anything from insurance. Fuel is probably one of our biggest areas. Machinery, as in wearing metal, that side of things, and parts, but not actual machines themselves.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, pretty extensive.
Yeah. Okay. So over all those years, I guess you've seen the ups and downs of farming that have been through. Yeah. So what have you seen through that experience? What have you seen that differentiates, a farm that's progressive and sort of getting through these challenging times we see now, to one that maybe struggles more? Is there steps people can take, or what do you see?
Well, it's you're right. We've been through some really tough times. Back in the early 2000s, when wheat was £60 a ton, and we had our challenge to grow it for £50 a ton. We set that as an internal challenge, and we monitored everything incredibly hard. And as prices rose, but so does input costs have risen. And of course, and we've always felt it's been quite difficult. The reality is, we've always felt it's been tough. Yeah. But with hindsight, perhaps it wasn't quite as tough as it is now. Yeah. Obviously, with BPS disappearing, that brings a whole new element to things to make it even more difficult. Yeah. So, what separates those top 25%, the bottom 25%, I suppose, is a lot of it is about the people. And people that have an open mind. I always wanted to employ people who are open to change, open to doing things differently, open to not that sort of set in the ways mentality, being prepared to try something a little bit different that perhaps they're not used to, outside their comfort zone, to try and achieve a different result.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because we you may have seen it. We did a podcast a few weeks back with Richard Price, and he said a very similar thing, that people is such a key thing. So somebody that, like you say, is prepared to look at differences, look at changes, look at the end of the day, when in a challenging time like we're currently in, I mean, really what you're looking at is anything that might just move the needle the right way for you, isn't it? So, I mean, I suppose in your current role now, with inputs where they are, I guess that's a massive thing for you guys at AF, isn't it?
It is.
Is how does someone control inputs, and what can they do?
There's lots of, I've learned a lot in the last 12 months, and it's different to how I was doing things were done at Century, and there are lots of different ways, and there's not to say that one of those ways is the right way of doing things, but there are lots of different ways that people farm their land, and control those inputs, whether they have a serviced agronomist or an independent agronomist and buy through our desk. And just different people do it differently. It doesn't mean to say any of them are wrong.
No.
but they all come at a different cost point.
Yeah.
And time, obviously, it depends how much time that someone wants to put into actually focusing on it.
And I suppose really that comes back to, again, that individuality of every one of those plans is what they want to get out of it, what they want to put into it, and they might be saying, I want to reduce my input cost to an absolute minimum, and that might be at a detriment to what I actually grow, but I'm going to take that risk. Someone else might say, no, I've got to maximise my crop. So is that, is that how you see it?
And I think it's people understanding that actually, what are they good at? What are they really good at? What do they want to spend their time doing? And how can they get the most out of that time? What can they do to get more out of it? Ringing round for fuel prices, some people really enjoy doing that. Others are more than happy just to send an email to our team saying, I want 18,000 litres, get it at the best possible price. And it's our job to say, actually, can you wait another 2 days because we think this price is coming down, or crack on and order it. So it's different. Know what you're good at. What's your passion? And where can you earn the most from your time? What can you do?
And really, I suppose for most farmers, that is farming. That's their passion. That's why they're in the game, is because they want to be out there growing, if it's crops, or looking after livestock if that's what they do. And if that's their skill, then really having the right people around them to advise or help in the other situations probably is quite a key step.
Yeah, it is. And, having... any individual farmer, no matter what sort of scale they are, they won't be able to have the same breadth of knowledge of the industry as the individuals within the Anglia Farmers group. So our head of crop protection, for instance, he's talking daily to all the distributors and all the manufacturers. So he's got a phenomenal insight to what's happening in the market. As an individual farmer, you can't do that. There's just no way you could do that. You haven't got the time to do it. It's a full-time job. And so it's entrusting those people that are doing that role to look after your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose in that, because of that constant communication, I suppose then you also get insights into what's coming up, what's going to happen, A, on price, but B, if there's new products and things that might be going to change the market as it goes.
That's right, and it's about making sure that we communicate that to our members. That's really important. That's we've got to try and add value to our members, and so having that communication piece is vital. We've got things like dynamic alignment coming, CBAM coming, all these hurdles along the road, and we've got to help our members prepare for those things that they're going to happen. So we've got to help them sort of steer them on different paths to overcome those things.
Yeah, I suppose, like you say that. I mean, we've had all sorts of stuff happen in the last few years, haven't we? With legislation and, like you say, BPS going and changes to funding and all these different things. That in itself can be almost, it can definitely be too much to try and take on if you're not used to that. So that's where advisors come in, is it, as well?
I mean, we, this time of year, crop inputs is incredibly busy, and we're talking, obviously, fertiliser is the topic of the moment, with CF releasing their prices yesterday, and so. Our fertiliser manager, he is constantly on the phone, and he's just talking to farmers, discussing what the options are, what's going to work best for them. Because, everyone's different. They've got different cash flow requirements. They've got different cropping, different types of crops, and so want different types of fertiliser. And some people are happy with a urea, and others want a Yara Amidas or something, something, a high quality product or a CF product. And that's got different price positions, and it's trying to understand where that market is. And our job isn't just to take the orders, it's to have the conversation, engage with them, understand them, and help and guide them through that buying process. Yeah,
absolutely. That's the key thing, is, like you say, that guidance. And I suppose, particularly at the moment with that volatility, being able to guide and say, do you know what, like you were just saying about the fuel, hang on a bit, we see that things might level up, or get it now. I mean, I suppose you can't answer that because who knows, but maybe you can give us a bit of insight.
Well, I think, fuel is really interesting. It's so volatile, and it is volatile. It does move up and down. Fertiliser, on the other hand, isn't volatile, because at the moment all it's done is gone up.
Yeah, okay.
There's not gone up and down. It's
and
just
that's
gone
based
up.
on there's factors that you can look at and see whether that's going to carry on or slow down. Is there?
I mean, there's lots of factors influencing that. Ultimately, it's what the suppliers are prepared to charge.
Yeah,
you know, that's the key, and they'll come up with those prices. The supply and demand, clearly, the limiting supply, which we had a limited tonnage of fertiliser come out. Well, economics says, you limit the supply, price goes up, doesn't it? And so, in reality, we're a very fortunate position in this country that we're a wealthy nation compared to an Africa or an Asia, and so we can afford to pay for this fertiliser. And it's awful to say it, but there's going to be a lot of farmers in the rest of the world who are in a lot worse position than we're going to be in.
So that in itself, do you think will have an impact in maybe crop prices in future? Because
I think it will. I think it'll have an impact on production, less so in the United Kingdom, because we can, like I say, it's coming in from the States and from Europe, and we can afford it. Whereas in other parts of the world, they just can't,
and that will affect their production.
It'll affect their production, undoubtedly.
Yeah.
So we think we've got it tough. We haven't, as compared to some, So it's putting things into perspective a little bit, isn't it? Yeah. About where we are, and what is this fertiliser market going to do? There's a lot of people just holding back. Some might be holding back because of cash. Because they don't want to be forcing themselves into a difficult position potentially, and there's others holding back because they feel that actually we're in a bit of a predicament, and maybe give it a few months, and maybe that will subside a little bit, and things will start flowing a bit better.
Yeah.
If you look at gas prices, international gas prices, they're lower than they were 6 months ago.
Okay. Yeah.
I appreciate UK gas prices are high, but we don't make a lot of fertiliser in this country.
No,
so,
no, that's true. That's an interesting point.
You've got to look at all these things. Haven't you?
That is exactly the point now, isn't it? I mean, go back to you'd remember it many years ago where it was much more localised, and what happened in the UK affected what happened to the UK prices, etc. Whereas now, buying and selling has become globalised, doesn't it? And whatever you get depends on whatever happens around the rest of the globe. Whether that be what you're buying or what you're selling, actually.
I think we've learned that more from what we're selling, haven't we? A big harvest in the UK or a small harvest in the UK means we either import or export, but in reality it doesn't affect the base price.
No.
It just changes the differential for an import price to an export price. But and it might put a cap on the prices, but because of what's coming in, it's what happens around the world that impacts the price of the feed wheat.
Yeah,
in the
exactly,
UK.
exactly, and because, like I said, we're a fairly small player in the market, I suppose. What happens to us doesn't exactly affect the market as much as what would happen. If the States had a harvest failure or.
That's where
that's
where you look, isn't it? They talk of drought in the States can trigger the market to go up, or a late frost in Eastern Europe. It's crunching supply over that part of the world. That has a much bigger impact because they're much bigger producers.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting because, like you say, we can, and everybody does do this, don't they? But you can feel quite isolated in it and think, oh, well, this is happening to me. But you look at the bigger picture. I was talking to a guy the other day, and he was saying to me, well, you might look at it and say, well, I don't even know why I'm doing this when you look at the price of wheat, but then you don't know what that price is going to be when you harvest it. It's a gamble that farmers always take, but what you've got in the field now, we don't know what the price will be when they come to sell it at the moment, do we?
It's a tricky one, that, isn't it? Because you can, but people don't. You can lock in with the futures, and if you look at harvest 27, you're 180 off the combine. It's okay compared to where it's been. It's all relative, isn't it? People are looking for that 200, but understanding your own costs and understanding where you are to work out whether that's a profit or a loss. If we're 174 off the combine this year, if that's based on fertiliser prices that was purchased last autumn at better values. Appreciate there's some chunky rises in fuel costs. and that's going to be difficult if it's a wet harvest, potentially. And so those costs may go up. They will have gone up a bit, but not as much as the fertiliser cost. And so, is that a profit for your business? It might well be.
Yeah. So really, that's as you said right at the start. It's understanding that whole aspect of what your business needs and what isn't it. What do the inputs need to be for your business, or how much? I suppose it's controlling everything. I know you can't control everything, but it's a case of saying, where do I need to be able to achieve a profit?
It's amazing what prices do to incentivise you to control your costs.
Yeah.
When the price of fuel's over £1 a litre, you really do focus on it. Those idle hours go down a bit. On tractors, and the extra cultivation that you always did to make it just look right. Maybe that doesn't get done. So you do make these controls when prices push you to do it. And fertiliser prices similarly. People have held back a little bit on fertiliser because if they can keep some in stock for next year, that's relatively inexpensive fertiliser.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%,
they do it.
yeah.
People do it.
And then you start to look at things like, maybe in the past you might have thought, well, that bit of technology isn't really for me. I don't know. I know a lot of these things are mainstream now, like your variable rates and all the rest of it. But maybe in the past you might have thought, well, I don't really need that. Well, actually, things like that could make the difference between getting it right and getting it wrong, couldn't it?
It could, absolutely.
Do you need to put what you've always, going back to your point about sticking away, if you say, well, I've always done this on this field, well, actually, some of your fields might not need that.
Yeah, no, that's right. And it might be sulphur, for instance, that is a bit of a problem with the Strait of Hormuz. There's a lot of sulphur that goes through there. And so maybe you'll do something a bit different, just buy straight nitrogen and get some polysulphate that's mined up in Bulby in Yorkshire. Yeah, okay. Because it's mined in Yorkshire, it hasn't gone up in the same percentage that other fertilisers have done. No. And so maybe you've got to change how you do things to help control those costs.
Absolutely. And is that a conversation you have with your agronomist, or what's the solution?
I mean, you should be. You should be with your agronomist. It's a conversation we're having with people. Even your farm advisor, it could be your land agent, the chap who's looking at your figures, helping you with all your figures and challenging you from that perspective. Maybe they'll got a bit of help.
Yeah, and that's, I suppose, what you were doing a lot with Sentry as well, was it? Because they do a lot of advisory. I suppose that's similar right. Conversations, was it? Sitting down with people and saying...
It was based on what we were doing ourselves. Yeah. And so, we were challenging ourselves. We were trying to do things differently. And so, you're just passing that information on to a third party. The difference is you're being paid for it. So it works.
Yeah, that's it. That's perfect. I think probably the sort of really interesting thing in this conversation today is the aspect, and I think this is what we've tried to cover throughout most of these conversations, these podcasts, is to say, yes, there is some challenging times right now. Yes, there is some things to get through, but it's a case of looking ahead then, John. What do you think people need to consider today to make the farming future a success for them? Is it...
Is it what?
Well, is it what we've been discussing? Is it just saying I've got to be in control of my figures, or?
I think that's just good business management, isn't it? You've got to treat it as a business. You've got an asset. You've got land. You've got buildings. You've got an asset. You've got to make use of that asset in whatever way will generate some income for the business. So I think being open to different, there's all sorts of different ways. Demands for land, aren't there? Huge amounts of different demands for lands, whether it's AD, whether it's solar, whether it's proteins. There'll be lots of different ways. We've just done an article on GLPs, the jabs. Okay. Because is that changing people's how people are eating? Are they they're reducing the amount they eat, which isn't great for the spud guys and girls, but actually, are they wanting more proteins?
Yes.
Are they thinking more about what they're eating? Food has become a very cheap commodity. Actually, will it change society a little bit to actually be thinking a bit more about what they're eating, whether it be fresh vegetables, whether it be higher quality meats, whether it be proteins in beans and that sort of thing? Is that going to change if you're looking 5-10 years ahead? Is that something that's going to have a bit of an impact on society, which has got very used to just 15p potatoes from the supermarkets at Easter.
I think that's a really interesting point. And I think exactly the same. I think it's going to, at the end of the day, the change will be driven by the consumer then, won't it?
Of course.
And we have got very easy things. I mean, it's been in the news today, hasn't it? I'm trying to cap the prices of certain. I mean,
milk, bread, and eggs. Yeah. I mean, milk's come down in price in the last 6 months significantly for dairy farmers. Bread, well, the price of wheat we've been talking about going up perhaps £20 a tonne. What impact is that on a loaf of bread? Diddly. And then eggs. Eggs probably is the one business that's doing quite well in farming at the moment, but they're doing okay. You know, let them do well. Let the market dictate these things.
Absolutely, and that's what I think. And it winds me up a bit because I think that this whole, the whole thing's run by the press, obviously, but I think when you see that, every time they mention inflation and cost of living crisis and stuff, the pictures they always use are a supermarket shelf with, like you say, milk or eggs or bread on. And actually, when I look at my household spend for a month, milk and eggs and bread is not the big chunk of it.
Absolutely.
They need to, I mean, if I had to pay a few pence more for my milk and eggs and bread every month, it wouldn't cripple me.
Yeah. And actually, a few pence is unfortunately not going to translate much into a ton of wheat.
No, it's not.
That's the point. And so, you know, it'd be £1 more. It might translate into a loaf of, a ton of wheat, but a few pence hardly does anything.
And when there's still a queue at Costa Coffee, you know there's not a cost of living crisis, don't you?
Exactly,
you know, because if you had to pay £1 for a loaf of bread or £8 for a coffee, I mean, you know, I think it's just that they make a big thing of those core basics. Well, actually, those core basics aren't the expensive part of life. No. But going back to your point about consumers driving the change, I think it's when people start saying, no, I want to eat better or eat differently or I want to know where my food's coming from.
Yes.
That then translates, once the demand changes for the supermarket, they have to change because they've got to supply the customer, haven't they?
Yes, absolutely. And we should be laser focused on that, on our customer, on our, you know, what does the customer want, and driving our production to that. You look at the successful agricultural countries, New Zealand, Ireland, they're all exporters. And so they have to focus on what that market wants.
Yes, okay.
Whereas we're not. And so are we quite as focused on what the customer wants? But will the GLPs perhaps just change that a little bit?
Yeah.
And that could add some value to what we're doing. You know, the move away from the ultra high processed foods to actual higher quality foods that we can get some value back onto the farm.
Yeah, I think so. I think that to me makes a lot more sense to it comes down to a marketing job in a way, doesn't it, to the consumers to say, have you thought about what you're putting in your mouth and where it's coming from? And
we've set up a brand, if you like, Taste AF.
Okay.
Which is to support all of our members who are producing their own foods, whether that be cheeses, wines. I've got one member doing olives up in Lincolnshire. All sorts of different food that's going to the direct to consumer, meats, milk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, whatever.
the straight from the cow. Raw milk.
Raw milk. Sorry, yeah.
So raw milk straight from your jerseys or whatever it is, or the Baron Bigod, the cheeses, those lovely cheeses from the Waveney Valley. You know, all of these sorts of members who are producing their own food, helping support them to raise the profile of those, and that's great. That's what they need, and that's what we should be here doing.
Absolutely, I agree with that. That's definitely the thing, because at the end of the day, for most farmers, they're not traditionally probably not a marketer, if you know what I mean. No. So being able to help them amplify the voice of what they're doing, I think is key throughout the whole industry, really, just to make, as we say, consumers aware of what's homegrown. And that's interesting. You just mentioned that your customer who's now growing olives. I mean, that's the other thing that's happened, doesn't it? Is there's certain things, whether that's through climate change or what it is, but there's certain things that's actually now possible to grow in this country. I mean, it wasn't long ago we weren't really producing much wine, and now they're winning awards.
It's normal now, isn't it? Exactly. To see vineyards from Kent and right the way up, you know, Norfolk and further north even.
In fact, there's a little one just down the road from here near Stratford. So
we'll have a quick drink, shall we?
So you know, he's totally different.
Yeah.
But because we're now getting those things within this country, shout about it. Let's get people taking them up.
Yeah. And I think the point about the really good quality sparkling wines, they're affordable. They're in the supermarket. You can buy them from Tesco's, which is great. And it could be rape oil. There's another one, isn't it? Which is rape oil. Crushed, cold pressed rape oil is so much better for you, so much more healthy than the normal rape oil that you buy from the supermarket, which is a lot cheaper. But it's that cold press is so much better for you. You can smell it and taste the difference. And so, will that demand for that sort of product go up? Yeah. And if we can help promote it, then great.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, with GLPs, maybe if people are having less, maybe they can afford to make it slightly better.
They do. Yeah. I'm sure that's right. That's right. Ultra processed foods are expensive way of eating, aren't they? So there is an education piece. They need to learn how to do these things, learn how to cook, and which is a challenge. But there's definitely an opportunity there.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's for me, it's a big thing. Is getting British farming on the map a bit more. I know it has happened a lot lately. Obviously, Clarkson's done a bit for it. I mean, season 5 is it that's just coming out?
Yeah.
Hopefully, again, that will make people realise what is going on British farms and how the challenges, but also what's possible and what's available and what people can support.
I think the whole Clarkson thing has just sort of enthused the country about what happens on a farm, isn't it? It's which is fantastic. It's for people to understand the trials, tribulations, and the fun. It's not all bad, is it? A bit of fun. And that direct supply with the Hawkston, the brewery, and getting a lot of younger people interested in food and farming, which is brilliant. We see within our membership now, there's a lot of that generational change is happening, and you see people who are taking over the businesses. And again, we're trying to support that. And we last week actually we launched our Fresh AF, which is an initiative to bring people to businesses that they wouldn't necessarily get an opportunity to do if they were on their normal farm. So take them outside their comfort zone a little bit. The first one's in September. It's from September through till June. First one's at our AF HQ. We've got some external speakers. We're going to go to Condimentum to have a look at the mustard production. And we've got people. The really great bit is we've just opened applications last week, and we've got applications from all around the country.
Really?
And that's the power of social media, isn't it? Yeah. People from Scotland, from Cornwall applying to join this little course for 20 people. Which will be selected to do it, and we've already had nearly 30 applications for 20 places. What a great scenario that we're in. That people are hungry to learn and to see different ways of doing
and having that sort of cohort, whatever you call it, of 20 people that go through that, they're not going to separate in a way after that, are they? I mean, hopefully not. Anyway, hopefully then going forward, they can keep bouncing ideas off each other. As they grow, go further into their careers, you've got other people to discuss it with because, and again, this is something we've talked about many times now, but it can get a bit lonely on a farm when you're on your own, and there's only 2 or 3 of you perhaps, and you spend a lot of time sat in a tractor on your own. But if there's a bunch of people that have got a common goal and a common cause that you hopefully know reasonably well, then you can keep that communication up perhaps. And
definitely, you do get to know them, and we're inviting previous cohorts back to the one of the we're doing a bit of a summer barbecue next June, and they're going to be invited back to that. But also we've said to them, you should be putting forward people to join this year's. Suggest somebody, come up forward with me. Don't sit back on your laurels. No. You got something out of it. Would you like
share
to,
it?
Share it, exactly.
Spread it. Yeah. No, that's brilliant, because it is really key that next generation is enthusiastic and is wanting to do it, because well, they're the hope of the side at the end of the day. They've got to take it forward. And from some angles, you can look at it and think, well, it's all a bit depressing what I hear about farming or what I see about farming. But if you can just get some people together and say, hold on a minute, have you just said, look at the positives that there is there, things we could potentially do, little changes we could potentially make, and look at the possibilities in the farming in this country. You can.
We went to see a farmer this morning. Over in East Norfolk, and it's a husband and wife, and the wife has a flower business that's doing really, really well, and the husband is running the farming business. taken over from his father, and growing the business. Real passion for it, growing the business, real success. So there are successes out there. We mustn't. It's easy to get dim and gloom, isn't it? But actually, there's some really good businesses out there, really exciting businesses.
Yeah, and I think that's why people need to see that, don't they? And open your eyes and actually have that communication with other farmers and say, if I'm isolated on me and I see my problems, speak to some others and see, hey, I could try doing that. Here's an idea. You mentioned somebody with the flower. There is lots of diversification ideas, isn't there? Which, you could, try something different.
Find what you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Because there's no point in trying to do it if you're not passionate about it, because it does take a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
Running any business takes a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
We all know that. It doesn't just happen. And so you've got to be prepared to do that hard work. That's key. And if you are prepared, and if you've got a passion for it, it won't feel like as much hard work. But you'll still have to make a lot of sacrifices in your time to make a success. And if you can do that, then brilliant.
Yeah, you could make some money and have a lot of fun at the same time.
Exactly.
No, I think that's really good to hear that slant, and the fact that, like you say, you're helping, people are growing that. There is companies like AF, other foundations that are.
Yeah, it's amazing, how much support that of course, we don't fund it ourselves. We get support from other businesses, and it's interesting to see how many. We've got the Morley Foundation near us. They're supporting students through Worshipful Company of Farmers, through their own Society of Agriculture courses, and through our Fresh AF course. There's all sorts of little charities all around the country that will support young people in learning more. And it's really, if you're a young person in farming, I say get out there and just, it's easy enough to research these things, but there are so many of them that you've never heard of, but there's lots of them out there.
With fresh ideas.
With funds to support you to learn something different.
Yeah,
that's great.
That is, exactly, and there's fresh ideas and other people, and and the other thing to remember, and I guess you'd say the same with this, but most people have come through, I was going to say everyone, probably is everyone that's come through a life in agriculture and farming. Remember somebody that helped them get into it, inspired them to do it, gave you the enthusiasm to do it. So pass it on, get the next.
We all need a mentor, don't we, through life? Someone to look up to aspire to, and support us, and perhaps put us on the straight and narrow a little bit every now and then. And I think that I've been lucky in my life in that I've been in a bigger, wider business. When you're on a smaller on a farm with a smaller number of people surrounding you, it is more difficult, and so that's why doing some of these courses, I think, is a real bonus. And I enthuse people to get on and do that if they can, to get to find those sort of people they can help and support them.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's brilliant. Yeah, all of these points we've been discussing, I guess, all add into this. The sort of overall arching point of this podcast, what we're discussing, and looking at that long view of farming. So, what's your closing words then, John? How should what should a farmer, a young farmer or an older farmer, looking ahead?
I think there is, there's demand for everything that coming from the land. So find what you're good at and do it really, really well. And I think there's great opportunities out there. There's people these days they're more interested in farming than they've ever been, more interested in food than they've ever been. So I think it's got farming in that respect has got a real potential to really well over the next few years. We're in a good position. We're in a maritime climate. We can grow stuff, grow grass, grow crops. We've got those advantages. There will be challenges, but just keep yourself open to change, and then we can deliver something that's really special. Yeah,
I think so. Brilliant, thank you. And I think we have a wonderful opportunity in today's world with the platforms available through social media or whatever, where we can take that message out, what we've been talking today about, getting the consumer, getting visible to the end user, to the consumer. We have probably a better opportunity than we've ever had before of making what we do visible.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's easier now. It's fraught with danger, but it's much easier, isn't it, to get yourself out there, put yourself out there. It's hard work. Trying to do that sort of thing every day is hard work, and you're exposing yourself. But actually, the reality is, it definitely pays off. So it's worthwhile.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for your insights.
No, it's a pleasure. Pleasure to come
Excellent.
along.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.